Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the next segment of the Good Word. And in this section, we're going to read briefly from the Noetic in a portion titled The Romances of Hawashah. And I want to read from this section briefly to try and emphasize a point. I see more and more where people are renouncing and trying to evolve on from a religion that was intended to keep people stuck, to keep people dependent on ideas and thoughts that were not their own in order to keep them in line, in order to keep them subject to something that was never meant for their greater good. It was simply meant to subjugate. But unfortunately, I see more and more examples of people denouncing, old religions, but they've done no growth. They learn nothing from those religions. And so all they are doing is swapping one master for another. They're taking the words of one who is not themselves and trying to follow those words instead of following the words that were previously given to them. Now, at no point, if you are not growing in your own knowledge, in your own experience, and you are simply removing what one person said so that you can lean on something another person said, you are just as lost as you were before. You are no more advanced than the three previous generations who came before you, who you are attempting to look down on, but you are not evolving. You have simply traded one master for another. And so let's begin. Again, we are reading from the Romances of Hawashah from the Noetic, and this portion is a conversation between Hawashah and Barata Arabo. And Barata said, "Man is the marvel of the universe. He is part of everything, for he has been a living thing on every plane of life. Time was when man was not, and then he was but a formless substance in the molds of time, and then a protoplast. By universal law, all things tend upward to a state of perfectiveness. The protoplast evolved, becoming worm, then reptile, bird, and beast, and then at last it reached the now. Man himself is mind, and mind is here to gain perfectiveness by experience, and mind is often manifest in fleshy form, and in the form of beasts best suited to its growth. So mind may manifest as worm, or bird, or beast, or man. The time will come when everything of life will be evolved unto the state of perfect man. And after man is man in perfectiveness, he will evolve to higher forms of life. And Hawashah said, Barata Arabo, who taught you this? That mind which is the man may manifest in the flesh of beast or bird or creeping thing. And Barata said, from times which man remembers not, our priests have told us so, and so we know. And Hawashah said, enlightened Arabo, are you a mastermind and do not know? That man knows not by being told. Man may believe what others say, but thus he never knows. If man would know, he must himself be what he knows. Do you remember, Arabo, when you were ape, or bird, or worm? Now, if you have no better proving of your plea than that the priests have told you so, you do not know, you simply guess. Regard not then what any man has said. Let us forget the flesh and go with mind into the land of fleshless things. Mind never does forget. And backward through the ages, masterminds can trace themselves, and thus they know. Time never was when man was not. That which begins will have an end. If man was not, the time will come when he will not exist. From God's own record book we read, the triune God breathes forth and stood 7 spirits before his face. The Hebrews called these 7 spirits Elohim, and these are they who in their boundless power created everything that is or was. These spirits of the triune God moved on the face of the boundless space, and 7 others were, and every other had its form in life. These forms of life were but the thought of God, clothed in the substance of their ether planes. Men call these planes the planes of protoplasm, of earth, of plant, of beast, of man, of angel, and of cherubim. These planes, with all their teeming thoughts of God, are never seen by eyes of man and flesh. They are composed of substance far too fine for fleshy eyes to see, and still they constitute the soul of things. And with the eyes of the soul, all creatures see their ether planes and all forms of life, because all forms of life on every plane are thoughts of God. All creatures think, and every creature is possessed of will, and in its measure has the power to choose. And in their native planes, all creatures are supplied with the nourishment from the ethers of their planes. And so it was with every living thing until the will became a sluggish will, and then the ethers of the protoplasm, the earth, the plant, the beast, the man, began to vibrate very slow. These ethers all became more dense, and all the creatures of these planes were clothed with coarser garbs, garbs of flesh, which men can see. And thus this coarser manifest, which men call physical, appeared. And this is what is called the fall of man. But man fell not alone for protoplast and earth and plant and beast were all inclined in the fall. The angels and the cherubim fell not. Their wills were ever strong, and so they held the ethers of their planes in harmony with God. Now when the ether reached the rate of atmosphere, and all the creatures of the plains must get their food from the atmosphere, the conflict came, and that which the finite man called survival of beast became the law. The stronger ate the bodies of the weakers manifest. And here is where the carnal law of evolution had its rise. And now man, in his utter shamelessness, strikes down and eats the beast. The beast consumes the plant. The plant thrives on the earth. The earth absorbs the protoplast. In yonder kingdom of the soul, this carnal evolution is not known. And the great work of masterminds is to restore the heritage of man, to bring him back to his estate that he has lost, when he again will live upon the ethers of his native plane. The thoughts of God change not. The manifests of life on every plane unfold into perfection of their kind. And as the thought of God can never die, there is no death to any being of the seven ethers, of the seven spirits of the triune God. And so an earth is never plant. A beast or bird or creeping thing is never man. And man is not and cannot be a beast or bird or creeping thing. The time will come when all these seven manifests will be absorbed, and man and beast and plant and earth and protoplast will be redeemed. Bharata was amazed. The wisdom of the sage was a revelation unto him. Now, Vaidyaputta, wisest of the Indian sages, chief of the temple Kapavastu, heard Bharata speak to Havasha of the origin of man, and heard the answer of the prophet. And he said, "You, priest of Kapavistu, hear me speak. We stand today upon the crest of time. 6 times ago, a master soul was born who gave a glorious light to man. And now a master sage stands here in the temple of Kapavistu. The prophet is the rising star of wisdom, defined. He brings to us a knowledge of the secret things of God, and all the world will hear his words, will heed his words, and glorify. You priests of the temple Kapavistu, stay, be still, and listen when he speaks. He is the living oracle. And all things the priest gave thanks and praised the Buddha of enlightenment. And that was the brief conversation between Havasha and Bharata Arabo. And again, the point I make whether you are following the teachings of Jesus or Rumi or Noam Chomsky for that matter, if you are simply believing what you are being told, then you do not know. You have not acquired knowledge for yourself. And that is the air that is to be overcome. That is the greatest part of this journey. And so with that, we will close. And I thank you, and we will see you on the next segment of The Good Word.